Man comes on screen. Hello. Howdy. Hi, everyone. How are you all doing? Maybe a silly question considering the circumstances. But, hope everyone's doing all right, all things considered. Hello, hello, hello. We need the stream before the snowstorm. So far, the snowstorm, unimpressed. Very underwhelmed. Whoa! I don't like that. Let me, uh, um, feels a little bit more neutral, right?
I like the pink.
Oh, you like the pink?
I liked it. It felt cozy. No.
Me when I rank America under Joseph Rodriguez. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I would never.
Yeah, there's no snow yet.
Anyways, what's up, everyone? Hello, everybody. Gina, thank you for the 25 months. Beth for the 26 months. Lexi for the 2 years. Cowboy for the 8 months. I kind of love like 8-month subs because I'm like, either it's intermittent since the season or you hopped on at some point. I appreciate it. Hope everyone is doing well. Lexi, if I didn't thank you already, I think I did. Hope everyone's doing okay. Obviously, more absolute insane tragedy today with another ice shooting. I was thinking, like, is it appropriate to stream doing something as silly as Big Brother player rankings? And I kind of came to a very pessimistic conclusion. That conclusion being, there's never going to be an appropriate time to do anything because society is not moving in the right direction, right? I see Ashley doing a lot of posts about, like, is ICE breaking the law? And obviously makes sense. She went to law school. I think the trouble I have is obviously ICE is breaking the law. They're also law enforcement, and the ultimate enforcement, which is the executive branch, is like wishes more people got shot, right? So it's just kind of like there's a sense of dread and hopelessness surrounding the situation that I think accentuates each individual tragedy. I think everyone can look at each situation and say that's incredibly sad. Look to the circumstances, look to the family, of course. And I think the dread comes in when you say, okay, what are the steps to resolve this? And if the answer is like wait for the next election, that's just not very satisfying. That doesn't, I don't think, uplift anybody. And that obviously presumes that, the next, like Gavin Newsom is going to be incredibly empathetic when it comes to immigration policy. There's levels to it. Joe Biden and even Obama were like incredibly xenophobic in the way that they carried out deportations. There are levels to this, though, like ICE's conduct over the past like year. That's new, right? At least in modern times. So, I think there is hope that things will improve as our leadership changes, but there's also a question of will leadership change? And I do not mean will Republicans win the next election. I think that's almost certainly they won't. I think it's more like who's going to give up power here? Because Trump doesn't exactly seem the type to me. Yeah, and I see a lot of people saying like Tim Walz should deploy the state troops. I don't think that's a thing, really. Like, look, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on the subject. I think if Tim Walz say, hey, local law enforcement, go do this. First of all, the Minnesota Police Department isn't exactly our glorious heroes. If you guys have, longer than a 3-year memory, you might remember why. Not to mention, if your governor says to do this and your president tells you to do something else, generally considering who these police officers are and perhaps their political affiliations, I don't think that is a reasonable solution. Not even to mention, someone in the chat said the numbers are tough. He already did call for the National Guard. He calls for the National Guard. I'm talking about the state forces, which, as time's gone on, has deteriorated. We used to be a nation of states. Now we're just kind of like a big federal block. Blue lives stand together. Exactly. Fuck Trump. Yep. Yeah, look, I mean, anyone who vocally supports Trump, I think you're a stupid idiot moron. Stupid idiot moron, hateful. I think it's a higher likelihood that you're just incredibly stupid than you are incredibly hateful. But if your incredible stupidity lends itself to incredibly hateful outcomes, I don't really care. Because I don't think this is an ivory tower. You need to be educated to understand that the man who was executed today didn't deserve it. You do not need a liberal arts education. What you do need is eyes and not like the most obnoxious devil's advocate sitting on your shoulder. That's all. Anyways, let's talk about Big Brother 27. There's no artful transition. We're just going to go over to the Reddit, talk a little bit, and go from there. Okay? I just thought it was something that should be discussed. I think it's always important for everyone to be on the same page. You never want to take for granted that, okay, of course we all agree this is evil, because then the next polls come out and like 40% of people think, the person who was shot was transgender and carrying an assault rifle in their backpack. That's just how propaganda works. So I do think it's important to have these kind of progress reports in that sense. No, I'm with you, hey bub. We're getting a storm in a few hours, so I figured it would be a good idea to stream a bit before. Let's look at the Reddit. Let's do it. We got player rankings today. It's an interesting day of player rankings. We're at like a weird phase of the list where it's a lot of passive players. So I think we're going to go through that quicker than usual. So maybe we'll spend a bit more time on the Reddit. Keanu overrated? By who? By me? We'll see. Did BB10 players, especially them, make a mistake by evicting Libra over Keisha? Probably, because of how close Keisha was to Memphis and Dan. Okay. I saw this. This is fun. Fun little game. I'm new to Big Brother. Translate from Survivor. Okay. So there's all these questions, and they're asking for our answers. I'm going to be answering two things from the perspective of the average Big Brother fan, like the Big Brother fan consensus, and Cory. Okay? Universally best season. I think Big Brother 10 is probably the answer for, like, the community likes it the most. I prefer Big Brother All-Stars. Doesn't matter. Either one's a good choice. I think BB10 is like the peak season of the show, though, that I would show to a new person. Universally worst season. What's the worst season of Big Brother? I think 19, 15, 9. I'm not counting BB1. 22. I think I would say 9. People like the messiness of 9. I can't. I can't with that season. BB15 is like, there's a strong argument. I'm not a big proponent of, if you just put aside the racism, I can't really do that. But I do think, like, BB15 probably hits different if, like, Gina Marie wins. And Andy, he's got his issues. But I think BB15 has a little bit more going for it. I think 9 just, it's not for me. I'm not a big mess kind of person when I watch shows. Best player of all time. We have the easiest consensus of all time. This is weird. They said Sandra for Survivor. I don't think Sandra is a best player of all time consensus person. I feel like it's Parvati or Tony usually. Worst player of all time. I don't think that's a thing. I mean, who's the worst Big Brother player of all time? Probably Luke. I'm trying to think if the other ejections were as bad as Luke. You can't say Willie's as bad. Justin, they were all drinking so much, so maybe you could say without alcohol he wouldn't try to slit someone's throat. Luke, he had no alcohol. He just let it rip, and it was day one. Or not day one, week one. Jacob in 9, that's a good call too. There's a lot of choices. Most iconic moment, Dan's funeral, for sure. Greatest villain. I mean, I think the casuals would say Evil Dick for sure. I think that's like the casual answer. Dr. Will, if you count him as a villain, I don't. I think he's more of a hero, honestly. Everyone's rooting for him. I think Rachel might have that. I think Rachel deserves it. And obviously, I'm rooting for Rachel, but I think in BB12, everyone's rooting against her. 13, I think more people are rooting for her, but then in 27, like the casuals, everyone I talked to, they were not rooting for Rachel. So, in the complimentary sense, I think Rachel could be the best villain. But Evil Dick is the casual answer. Funniest season? That's a good question. What's the like Survivor Gabon? I mean, season 10 is really funny though. I think season 10 is actually like this answer too. There's just so many funny bits. Season 18 is pretty funny. 20 is pretty funny. I'd say 10. I think 10 is the funniest season. Funniest player? I mean, that's hard. You just pick your favorite. Rennie, Felicia, whatever. Angela. Just pick whoever you want. Challenge Beast, probably Michael Bruner. The public would probably say, like Jeff Schroeder. I don't know. Who would the public acknowledge as like the comp beast? Tucker, maybe? Brittany? Yeah, Brittany's definitely the answer. Fair enough. Julie Chen Moonves tipped $3. I'm so impressed someone got the Julie Chen Moonves account. Good for you. Janelle's the casual answer. In fairness, I think Janelle's a valid answer. Straight up. In her first 2 seasons, I think she had like the best 2-season challenge run maybe ever. Maybe Cody. Best moment. I mean, same thing as Dan's funeral. Best couple. I'm biased. I think the general consensus would say Jeff and Jordan if you're super casual. I would probably go Brendan and Rachel. But I happen to be in a couple, and I think we're pretty cool. Pretty cool. Best rivalry. That's interesting. Who's the best rivalry? Because I feel like Big Brother's not a show where usually there's like 2 opposing forces like that. I think Rachel and Danielle was pretty good. Like Jeff Schroeder, Danielle Briones. That's pretty fun, right? I feel like that was as close as we've gotten. Maybe just like the friendship versus Sovereign Six. I think that probably is just the most rivalry, if you want to say like Janelle and whoever. Julie Chen's favorite season. She told me this on the stage. Her favorite season is season 2. Cory Haircut Burger. Really isn't even a haircut, but so it's sitting a little differently today. And then Julie Chen's least favorite season. I would say 25. It seemed like she hated it, right? Compared to the enthusiasm she had for 26 and 7. I think season 15 probably, just because it did the most damage. And it kind of like, she had to have a weird role in the season. So I think 15 is probably the answer, but she certainly did not like 25. So, those are my answers. And I'm sticking to them. My BB winner picks. They're pretty good. I will say, in general, it's usually quite obvious who, like, the winner candidates are for Big Brother seasons. You know what I mean? Like, we were talking about it because America and I recorded a podcast today. Like, Ashley was one of, like, the 5 consensus winner picks. Chelsea really wasn't, but only because there was a lot of controversy happening at the time with Chelsea preseason. But she would have been, like, one of the consensus picks. Jag, rightfully or wrongfully, was a consensus pick, as was Taylor, as was Xavier, as was Cody. Like, usually you can narrow it down to, like, 4 or 5 people, and you'll win with a certain amount of reliability. I don't care. If you got to compete in it, would Season 27 Adrian have really won the wall comp? I don't think anyone's beating Vince in that. That was one of the more dominant wall comp performances I've seen. He did not budge the entire time. It was just about Israel, humane. It was, they found her posts and she followed certain people online. So people were not going to like pick her as a winner pick. But I think Vince, it's been a while since I've seen a wall comp where like he never shook. He won convincingly. I'm sure he was feeling it more than we saw, but I have no reason to believe Adrian would be better. I'm sure Adrian would be, right up there. Most inexplicable jury votes. All right, this one got a comment out of me. This one got me to reply. Adrian didn't show himself to be any kind of comp beast. I thought he showed himself to be pretty good. I mean, he almost beat Casey. You know, I'm sure he would have been good if he had more time. Jesse and Lydia going against Natalie. Natalie was just so not respected on BB11. Brendan and Rachel not voting for Hayden. That was like a pact, right? I forget why. It didn't make a ton of sense to me why they were like just giving Lane votes for no reason. Knowing it was going to be a 4-3 vote. It just doesn't, I don't get it. Like for entertainment? I don't know. Judd voting Gina Marie over Andy. How do you reward someone after a speech that bad? I mean, obviously he was not voting for Gina Marie. He was voting against Andy. So. Terrence voting for Taylor in BB24. Okay. I'm saying this not even as like a conspiracy guy. I think this is a good thing if it happened. Like I'm down. Something's up. Like I think in the exit press, people did gleam, ooh, this is a bad look. And whether like information just got through to jury somehow, like I just think knowing how much vitriol these people had for Taylor, it doesn't make sense that some of them would flip their votes. Even after the speech, you know what I mean? Like Terrence fucking hated Taylor. Clearly there was just some meeting of the minds in the jury house where they, you know, where they got to a point where like, okay, I feel like voting for Taylor is the better choice here. He also knew she was winning. Yeah. I don't think it matters. I feel like Taylor wins regardless of them getting exit press or not. I don't know. I mean, the way I see it is Taylor had a lot of friends on the jury, so she had a decent amount of votes. You know, Michael and Brittany and whatnot. I think it might have been a little bit closer, but it's all just hearsay. Like, who has any idea? Ultimately, I think Taylor played a better game than Monty, so I'm glad she won. She deserved to win. And if she were to lose that final two, it would be, in my opinion, because people just irrationally despised her. But I know my exit press made me feel a certain kind of way, right? Like, I felt frustrated that every one of my exit press questions was about Suri. And it wasn't even from a perspective of like, oh, Suri's so annoying. Like, obviously I like Suri. It was just like, what do you guys want me to say? Like, I'm communicating my thoughts about the game, and you guys are just telling me your thoughts, and that's not what interviews are supposed to be. Do you want Suri to win 50? She's not my first pick. I mean, I think Christian is who I'm closest to. I think I'd want Christian to win first, but she's like top 7 or 8. It's just like, it'd be an awesome storybook for her to win 50 after getting so close so many times. And genuinely, like, people shit on her for never winning with 5 attempts. You got to give her Micronesia. Like, I just think it's unfair. I think she deserves, it's not a win, but she deserves to, like, be treated as whatever's right under that. Like, that should have been a win. And it's pretty unfortunate for her that it wasn't. What else do we got? Josh BB3. Yeah, you can pay me to know about Josh. Donnie and Jocasta voting for Cody because of Derek's fake praying. Don't try to make sense of people voting based on religious motives. If you don't get it, you just don't get it. I don't get it, but I'm not trying. Tola voting Bailey instead of Anthony. Yeah. Jeff and Jordan with Shelly. Shelly voting Rachel. Surprised Brittany didn't vote for Big D. You could like someone more, but you have to respect them as a player too, and I think that was probably lacking on top of the social issues. Screen, yeah, one sec. Howie voting for Maggie over Yvette. I think it's like when you have two people you really don't like in the final two, you don't want to vote for the more useless person. I think at that point you do default to who do you think's better. Thoughts on Genevieve on 50? She could do well. I think she's slightly overrated from 47. Like, I don't think her game was very impressive. Talking to her, she's an incredibly impressive person. Like, I feel like there's just an aura. But I would be inclined to think she probably doesn't do great. That's just a guess, though. So where's, here we go. American Cory voting for Jag. I actually thought the conversation going on in this thread was relatively reasonable. You know, BB25 is the worst modern day season. I disagree, but okay. I love Suri and Cory fan war, but it really sucked. Most of the cast, men in the cast were sexist as fuck. The guy who won AFP, got it. So I put this, but let me look at the discussion first. So this is the big thing. How is it inexplicable? Do you not think the stuff Matt was saying made its way back to them in the jury house? It didn't. I don't know what to tell you guys. Like, I feel like I'm very open about like saying things maybe my contract says I'm not allowed to say about what happened in jury and whatnot. I wish I knew everything Matt said so I could like vote for Jag with more vitriol towards Matt, but I didn't. Didn't find out till like 3-4 days after the season, maybe like a week after you get the full scope of everything. I think Blue alluded to like Matt not liking America, but Blue is such an unreliable narrator and such a bad like read of character. Like, at least that was our impression of her in the house. Mentioned in the tent on our way to stage during the round table. I remember something like that. Yeah. I can't believe Blue didn't let you guys know. Well, did Blue like us in the house? Like, is that surprising, Jerry? Like, who is Blue closer to? Me and America or Matt? So that doesn't surprise me. But yeah, like the extent of it, did not reach us. Goodbye messages were terrible. Didn't own his own game. Did like Jag more on a personal level, sure. Given their superfan status, it was kind of shocking because, like, I know I'm never voting for someone who got evicted to win the game because that fundamentally breaks the social game. I just think never is an insane word. Like, let's say you did know the shit that Matt said. You know what I mean? You still have to vote for Matt on principle because Jag was evicted. What if it's Jackson Mickey versus Jag? You're telling me you're voting for Jackson? It's just like at the end of the day, you're picking out of the two people who you thought's better, who you want to vote for. I felt good about voting for Jag over Matt. I feel better today than I've ever felt. And then they basically say their reasons. And then they have a back and forth. What I said was, I came into jury so confident that Matt was the better player. He went so far out of his way to convince us that he wasn't. I list everything. I'm lucky he did because we didn't know the shit he talked. I think basically the gist with Matt is like, people vastly overrate his biggest flaw. Oh, Matt's big issue is he never owned his game. That affected a single vote. That affected my vote. Cameron thought Matt did nothing the entire season. America was always voting for Jag over Matt. Blue was always voting for Jag over Matt. I don't really understand Blue's vote, to be honest, but maybe the goodbye messages had something to do with him. I don't know. It had, like, very little impact. All Matt had to do for my vote was not totally fumble. If Matt just gave, like, pretty boring, nothing goodbye messages, that would have been fine. It was just him telling me that he was the worst player. That's what kind of threw me off. So, I think it's more inexplicable what the fuck he was doing as opposed to my decision-making based on what he was doing. Bluer's closer with Jag than Matt. People... On the updates in Terran, he makes it sound like Blue was closer to Matt. From our perspective, in the house, out of the house, everything, I never saw that once. I think that might just be like the cameras were on these conversations. Terran had a bad read. Jag was just closer to Blue than Matt was. The entire season. And strategically, maybe Blue and Matt were more linked. Even that feels kind of weak to me. So I think that was just, Terran was off on that one. But, it happens. So, I think that's about it for the Reddit. I think we can get into some player rankings. What would happen if Janelle won? I'm not sharing my screen on purpose. What happened if Janelle won final HOH in both her seasons? She wins BB7 and might win BB6. It'd be close. Okay. Let's do some player rankings. Whoa, I'm getting flashbanged. Okay. We ended last ranking with Mr. Jared Fields, number 48. Today we're going down to number 33. So we got about 15 players to rank. Should be a good time. And then we're going to end the player rankings over the next few days, doing 32 to 17 and then 16 to 1. Okay? Does anyone want to just throw out a crazy guess of who's next? Someone who, like, I can't believe they haven't been named yet. You've been thinking over the past couple of weeks. Where are they? Keanu, Amira. You know what, Eddie? I'm just going to give it to you. Amira. Amira is really hard to rank because I think she's simultaneously quite overrated and also just seems like she'd be pretty good at the game. Amira was on the side of the house with Daniel Durston, Nicole, all the menaces, and she was by far the best player of them. She was the best socially. She was like the least mean. She had a lot of bad moments, but she was like the least mean out of them. She had the best strategic head on her shoulders of the three of them, and everyone knew it. So when they're flipping the vote, or choosing to flip on that side of the house, she's the first victim. Daniel and Nicole making it further than her does not make them better players than Amira, of course. I do think Amira on most seasons does quite well. There's not much of a reason to think she wouldn't. However, how high do you expect me to rank Amira when she got 14th place out of 16? Because there's a tremendous number of players who look like pretty exceptional for the first 2-3 weeks, and then you realize maybe there's not that much there. Week 2, Ava was like, oh my god, Ava, she's a social butterfly who also has all these people wanting final twos with her. Then the game kind of settles. After week 2, you're like, Ashley could be the worst Big Brother player of all time. I might have said something like that at the time. So I just don't think it's fair to like elevate people to, super high spots because of their excellent 3 weeks of gameplay in which they were evicted. So I think Amira, like socially, she's there. Strategically, she's there. Physically, she's probably fine. But this feels like the highest I could put her. The kind of biggest demerit I would give Amira is she gets blindsided by being backdoored. And then she still thinks she has the votes to stay. I understand it's Festy Besties, so it's like, maybe she wasn't the target, but I think she was next to Terrence, which is like, yeah, you're not surviving that, Amira. That's not going to happen. So I think Amira would do well most times, but the one sample we have, not so much. All right, who do you guys think we got next? Predictions. Perhaps we've talked about them recently. It's possible. I'm getting the sense that Humane is going to say Keanu for every guess. Maybe twice per guess. Alyssa, smart to not clarify. Coming in at 46, I have Blue. 7th place finisher, she gets a veto, nominated a lot of times. I admire Blue's gameplay in a couple of ways. She's very active. She was gaming. Early weeks, it was her and Jag and Riley. She was not the brains of the operation. I think that was more Jag. But, like, she was very active in the conversations, trying to make side alliances. Like, she was playing the game. She was definitely playing the game. The thing is, I don't know if she made a correct decision all season. And it's not even like she had power, really. So, like, it's not like she made those kinds of decisions that were wrong. She always just sided with the wrong people and always was targeting the wrong people and always shared the wrong information. So while I admire someone who plays very actively, I think every time she tried to play, she made her position and her odds of winning worse. I think in the endgame, Blue does have a shot at winning. Just kind of by who is in the endgame. I think Blue probably beats America in the final 2. Definitely beats Felicia. Definitely beats Bowie Jane. But, like, it's... You go with the final, like, 14, and you're like, okay, Blue's one of the 3 people who have 0 shot of winning the game. No one respected her as a strategist. Her social game was fine. I think a lot of people liked her, even her ops. Like, I didn't hate Blue in the house, right? So I think socially, she's actually better. That's, like, her best thing. And competitively, I think she's underrated. I think she got second to Jag and second to Cameron in a lot of competitions where if veto draws were a little different, if Jag stayed evicted, if Cameron stayed evicted, she would have won like 2 vetoes and an HOH, I think she's capable of winning comps when she needs to. It just didn't happen. The one comp she won means nothing to me, but her staying in the endurance comp that long actually means a lot to me. She did very well in the wall, very well in Superhero Training Academy. She was like a good competitor. Which is why she was being targeted before me. On top of, relationships. the biggest problem with Blue's game was the entire season she was targeting the wrong people. Like, she's targeting Cameron in red, which is fine. And then she ends up wanting to target Jag, which is insane. Then she's targeting me in America for the rest of the season, which I do understand. I nominated her, but, like, there wasn't much of a choice to make there. I think if Blue ends up winning an HOH at Final 8, I'm the target. Final 7, America's the target. Final 6, Bowie's the target. I just don't think she ever would have targeted the people she needed to. She's obviously in a showmance with Jared, and I think she basically just lets Jared steer the ship. Makes sense. Jared's also linked to Suri, so there's not that much you can do. I think the best part of her season was when, post Izzy flip, she's trying to play the middle between Jag and Matt and Suri and Jared, and, like, she's kind of covered on all angles, but she's not able to achieve any of the goals she's trying to get done. Like, she's trying to keep Jared safe and get Suri evicted or get me evicted, or she's trying to do things at various points in the season. She's trying to keep Mimi. She just failed every time she tried to do something, but the effort is better than a lot of people. Backdooring Jag would have been smart. When I'm saying she would have nominated people, like, she would not have targeted Jag. She thought she wants to go to, like, the final 4 with Jag, Matt, and Suri, probably. You know what I mean? Volunteering Jag to go up as a pawn, and that wasn't, like, a tactic of hers. She just did that. So I think Blue's a very flawed player. I think she's not, like, self-aware of her position and where she needs to go, but she will always play hard, which is useful because it, like, gets you in conversations and it gets people, like, interested in keeping you around. So, Society of Blue tried to align with America. Y'all think that would have done anything? It would have been less frustrating to watch, but, like, the competitions are the competitions. It just would have been like, oh my god, our power duo is getting evicted back-to-back. This is so sad. Instead of, like, our frenemies are getting evicted back-to-back. It would have been more fun, though. So that's Blue. Shoutouts. 45 is Rubina. 4th place finisher. Wins a blockbuster. That was the Jungle Gym against Joseph and Chemo. Nominated 6 times. The numbers coming out of BB26 are so funny. The same people are on the block over and over and over and over and over again. I just don't think there's really anything to prop up Rubina's game. I think she's, like, less actively bad than Blue. Like, I prefer, like, if they were to get one back, I'd want Blue to play 100 times before Rubina. Rubina just, like, didn't have that dog in her to play the game. When she's on the block, she's much more worried about how Tucker feels about her. When she's off the block, that's also her main concern. Of the unspeakably passive trio of Chemo, Rubina, T-Core, she's the most passive, which is, like, incredible. Like, it's a pretty high bar to clear. I think socially is probably her best spot, but she had, like, a weird vendetta against Leah that was kind of hard to understand. She was close to Chemo and T-Core, which is good, and a lot of people liked her. Like, she didn't really have enemies, which I think is valuable, but I think there was a respect problem with Rubina. Like, no one really cared what she would say, and I think a testament to her entire game is in the Final 4, where I believe MJ gets to make the decision to evict either Rubina or Cam, and it's the most obvious decision of all time that Rubina should stay. Like, MJ needs to evict Cam. It gives her, like, such a bigger chance of winning because Cam obviously would take Chelsea. And Chelsea might be scared to take Rubina, right? And Rubina just never really makes a pitch. Not once, right? And she ends up going home in a spot where it makes no sense for MJ to evict her. So she's super passive. She's pretty likable. And in competitions, I think she's pretty terrible. And please, like, whenever I say these things about people's competition prowess, I acknowledge the fact that I'm very bad too. You know, I think I'm better than Rubina, but she was bad. She wasn't really competitive. The blockbuster she won was against Chemo and Joseph, and I don't know if there's, like, another makeup of house guests that she wins against. Maybe Angela, maybe Leah. Leah was pretty good, but Honestly, as I'm saying it out loud, I feel like I want to rank Blue over Rubina, but I do think Blue, like, is an early boot in a lot of seasons, and it's kind of hard to imagine how that happens to Rubina, and, like, Rubina probably gets more jury votes than Blue on average. I just, like, stylistically like Blue's game more. How much of this placement is how boring the endgame BB26 was? Well, the reason the BB26 endgame was boring was because Rubina wasn't playing. Cam wasn't really playing. Chemo wasn't playing. Cam was, I guess, playing, but not much. So I think Rubina is just like a replacement level player who was pretty likable, which is very valuable in Big Brother. Okay, let's move on to number 44. Who do we got? Catherine. Similar to Rubina, we're kind of hitting the phase in the player rankings where, like, there's not much to say. These are all just players who, like, seem like they can make it deep on most seasons. How the hell are they gonna win? It's possible. Catherine really did not establish any meaningful connections the entire season. She had Riley, of course, but that basically inhibited all her gameplay. Then when Riley leaves and it's just Catherine left, her gameplay did not get better. I think a lot of people thought once Riley's out, she'll be able to spread her wings and let's see what Catherine does. Her eviction week was terrible. She refuses to make a deal with Vince on the wall when she's about to fall off the wall, and she just gets, like, evicted in a spot where it didn't make that much sense for a lot of the house guests. She just had, like, a really long run in the season. She gets 11th, and she just does nothing. And it's tough. She has a relationship with Lauren. That never materializes into anything meaningful, even though Lauren's got power at different points. Riley gets evicted in a week where Lauren holds the veto, and Lauren could just keep things the same. Catherine was advocating for that, but not effectively. I just think it's like, what am I uplifting Catherine for? Like, what did she do that I looked at and said, this is pretty good, Catherine? This is something to build upon. There's just nothing. I was trying. Because I do think on another season, Catherine probably does fine. I am slightly curious, and this maybe is harsh, how she got cast. You know what I mean? Because her personality was very laid back, and she seems like a chill person, but usually that's not what you would see on Big Brother. Like, even Lauren, you can kind of see how she got on the show in terms of being, like, a super fan, whatever that means, and it seems like she has, like, a big personality that she could, like, put forth. I just never saw it with Catherine. You never know how people are in their interviews, but yeah. That's where I'm at with Catherine. $50 says she does better without Riley. Better than 11th? Maybe. I mean, I'm sure. It's just like having a show, like being a girl in a showmance is usually a good thing if the showmance goes home, like, pretty early. Like, usually you're set for a little while. She was evicted immediately after. That's pretty rare. Like, that doesn't happen. So, I really have nothing else to say about Catherine. She wins a veto, and I think she does a good job to not fold to Vince's begging, which I thought was fun from Vince, but, you know, she does a good job to stand her ground there. She needed that veto. So, not a bad player, not a good player, just kind of a player. And she could do well on another season. Speaking of, one of the strangest players in Big Brother history, I think, Mimi. We've all seen her post-show. Just a huge personality, so charismatic, so charming. In the house, just shut down. I don't know if it was a social battery thing. I think a lot of it was, like, intentional, strategic, like, choices for her to do nothing. But it, like, even in the house, there was a level of respect towards Mimi. Like, we all, like, wanted to work with her. We all thought she was very intelligent. I mean, she is intelligent, just the way she carries herself. And physically, she's, like, fine. She could win some comps. She got close to winning a few things. But when it got to her boot week, we all kind of came to the conclusion of, like, what is Mimi doing? Like, everyone inside the house realized Mimi's doing nothing. Like, she genuinely hasn't made a connection, made an alliance, tried to make a move, tried to get someone she doesn't like on the block or someone she likes off the block. There was just nothing. And I think Mimi does get screwed by Cameron coming back as a zombie, but she's kind of running out of time before that. Let's say Cameron and Jared are both gone. She's just going to be one of Me America Blue and her. Like, we're just going to be picked off in order. She's probably still first to go. Because her connections were like Felicia, and that just doesn't do anything. She had me, but she consistently pushed that away. She kind of had Jag, consistently pushed that away. We thought she was gaming with Blue and Jag. We thought she was gaming with Blue a lot, and we knew Jag wanted to work with her. At least that was my recollection. We know her and Blue, during her eviction week, all of a sudden got super close. And I will say, my biggest mistake of the game is evicting Mimi. And I think that's Mimi's fault, because I tried really hard to not evict Mimi. Like, I was really giving her every opportunity to say anything to save herself. There was that rumor about her and Jag's final two. I thought that was so much earlier in the season, though. Maybe we're still talking about it around her eviction, but I thought that was, like, around the flip. Like, week 6, we were hearing that. What number on the list did we start? I think 82 or something? 80-something? No, there was definitely a thing about her and Jag having a final two. I think Jag might have made one with her post-flip, basically. But obviously Mimi's final twos don't mean anything. I just think this is where Mimi belongs. It's like, could she do better on another season? Maybe, but I don't think much better. I think this is just who Mimi is as a player. Like, obviously, if she went back on, she would try to play a lot more actively, because this is everything that they've, this is all the criticism she gets. But, like, she had a lot of opportunities to do very well in BB25. Like, she was in the driver's seat, or she could have been in the driver's seat at various points if she, like, worked with me, worked with Jag, leveraged her position in the middle, worked with America, worked with Blue. She had everyone wanting to work with her and rejected everybody. As opposed to players like myself who, like, I was desperate for people to work with, Maybe you could just say that's a good social game, but I don't know. It felt like she didn't do much with a lot. The writer's room was short-lived, but it was fun while it lasted. I don't think it ever existed. The name was stated, but that's about it. Number 42, Ava Pearl. This is a block of players that I'm kind of putting together. Ava and Rubina are very analogous. The credit I give Ava is twofold. Number one, she was set up well with the jury. As much as people on the outside got frustrated with her shit-talking, in the house, it seemed like Ava was going to get a lot of jury votes no matter what. So that's good. It's good to have win equity, and she had win equity because she's a fun personality. People liked her. She had some very close bonds. She was close with Rachel. She was obviously close with Will. Her game really starts spiraling when she picks Vince in the White Locust. That wasn't a good move. I understand if you're saying Rachel should have done X, Y, and Z. You have to keep it on your side of the house to keep your number safe. She reaches a place in like the final 7 where it's her, Kelly, and Laura, and it kind of seems like maybe there's a path for Ava to win. But Ava was so passive. When she held power, she did a good job. She wins power, puts up Vince, Zach, and Keanu. Granted, she gets hella lucky that Keanu wins that blockbuster, because Keanu is not the good target for Ava. Ava should have been going after Vince or Zach, probably Vince. But Zach was a great target too. So she does a pretty good job on her HOH, puts up 3 guys. But then there's just nothing. She just doesn't play. I mean, in the final 4, she is making pitches. Right? She's advocating for Morgan, or advocating to Morgan, to Vince. Like, she never gives up. She tries more than Rubina, I think. But it was like a meme during the season that she just sleeps. And she did sleep more than I've seen, just about anyone. Does Ava's HOH put her above Mimi? I just feel like Ava isn't the better player. But why do you feel like Mimi's the better player? I guess is the question I have to ask. Because I understand. I feel the same way. I feel like Mimi's better. But why? Because if it's the untapped potential, it's like, dude, we had 65 days. 65 of them. And at the end of the day, like, I think Ava had a lot more win equity. She had a much better social game. I think Mimi struggles to beat most people in the end. It's hard to imagine how Mimi even gets there, but, like, she beats Felicia, but that's never going to happen. She beats Blue. Maybe that's her best out. America, maybe, but how do they get to the final two together? I just don't see an argument for Mimi over Ava other than it just feels like she's better, you know? But I get you. Trust me, Mimi was a tough one to place. Nominated 5 times. Those numbers are a little bit inflated because she was in the end game and the blockbuster went on so long. So, like, you know, I wouldn't judge her too harshly on that. But that's Ava. It's hard to compare Ava with Mimi, who's competing on the challenge at the same time. I get what you're saying. It's just like, do you think Mimi's comp ability is head and shoulders above Ava's? I think it's better. I do think it's better, but like Mimi's gonna lose the physical comps to all the super physical people anyways. Unless she gets like a really good veto draw or something. It's hard to imagine her winning those comps, and when it comes to mental, we've seen Ava win one. So that's Ava. Not too much more to say about her. Number 41. Alyssa Snyder. Alyssa is a player that we see pop up every couple seasons. She's in a showmance, and she ends up leaking a lot of information to her showmance partner. Obviously, Blue is a similar player to Alyssa in this way. I wouldn't say America was like that, really, because, like, America would sometimes leak my information, but, like, she leaked the Matt information to me, which is very important. That was a very good move. I just think Alyssa was a player who, like, she places very well. However, she never has any power in the game. She's kind of surviving by the grace of Kyle, which give her credit for having someone protecting her like that. But her win equity is, like, dead early. And she ends up making it far because she's likable, and more importantly, she's devastatingly bad at competitions. And you just don't have much of a shot. She was so bad at competitions that, like, there's no reason to evict Alyssa. And especially when you're competing against people like Michael and Monty and Turner was good. Taylor's much more physical than Alyssa. Brittany was a better competitor. She was just drawing dead way earlier than I think she was evicted. The credit I'd give Alyssa is she's pretty malleable, right? Like the second Kyle's stock starts dropping, she's able to get away from that pretty quickly and pretty effectively. She's able to, like, work with the wrong side of the house at the start of the season, and despite not really being in the leftovers, she ends up getting close to a lot of those people, which is very beneficial to her. She also gets unlucky in her boot round. Brittany's the target. Brittany ends up winning the veto over Monty and Turner and Taylor, which seems pretty unlikely. So she should have made it to Final Four, but who is she beating in that Final Four in a competition or a jury vote? There's really just nothing. Alyssa getting voted out at Final 5 really negates everything when there's no world she should be voted out there. I mean, look, she wasn't the initial target. It was supposed to be Brittany, but I do agree. Like, obviously Taylor or, you know, one of the boys is a better target. I think that both the boys were safe via competitions, but Taylor, of course, is a better boot. Is she beating Brittany? I don't think so. I would be surprised if she beat Brittany. I would think, like, Turner, Taylor, Michael. Like, I'm thinking I'd be able to get 5 votes for Brittany. But it depends how, you know, the jury viewed Brittany. When she said she was finally ready to play and it was already the first week of jury. Here's the thing. She could probably do that on most seasons. Sneak pretty far in the game. It's just how the hell does Alyssa ever win? She's likable, so it's not impossible. Whereas, like, some of these people, you're like, even if Terrence gets to the end, he gets the end game a lot. How the hell is he going to win a vote? She could win a vote in, like, a bitter jury situation or if just the right person's next to her. But I think it's unlikely. So that's where I've got Alyssa. 40, let's just stick with it. Let's just stick with it. You can't take the challenge into account. That would help Alyssa quite a bit. She's nominated week 1 because of her alleged showmance, but she ends up being fined there because of Travis. She's super close to Xavier. Give her credit for surviving as long as she did in terms of, like, she's on the season with the cookout. She's the last person remaining not in the cookout. She did need to win a veto along the way to save herself. I just view Alyssa Lopez as, like, Alyssa Snyder, Ava, all these people just better at competition. She wins 2 vetoes in a very competitive field. Obviously, you have Kyle and Xavier, Derek X, Christian. Like, there's good competitors all throughout this cast. And she's winning competitions. Obviously, she goes in the challenge and shows, like, okay, she's probably a bigger physical threat than we even thought. But I just think Alyssa has a lot of problems, like, commanding anything strategically. She was kind of going with the flow. Obviously, it's hard to imagine what she could have done. That's kind of why she's placed this high. It's like, do I think without the cookout she plays a much better game, places much better? Probably not. But with the cookout, I don't think she could have placed any better. Unless she wins a veto at Final 7, wins HOH. Like, it's just hard. Does better on another season? I can definitely see that. Her asking the cookout if she's safe because she's a POC was funny. Yeah, it was a good moment. Totally fine player, competent physically, which I think she's good physically, which I think gives her a path to winning that I don't see with Alyssa Snyder, and Ava and Mimi and all these people. Like, she could go on a comp run. I don't see a reason why she can't be MJ. You know, someone like that. Replacement level player. I think she's slightly better than replacement level, but, you know. I just think we all think replacement level is better than it actually is. Like, I think the replacement level player is pretty bad. 39, Jimmy. I don't know what to say with Jimmy. I think he played the first 3 weeks totally fine. It was not flawless. It was a little bit messy. He was doing a little too much. I think Mickey and Morgan turning on him was a bad move, and I don't think he gave him enough of a reason to do it. It's obviously a bad sign when your allies turn on you. Like, that's on you, I guess. But seeing the conversations that Mickey and Morgan were having that week, I don't know if that's Jimmy's fault. Jimmy's really high, like, if he'd clear all the new era first boots for me. Nah. I think Jimmy was pretty good. Jimmy on his HOH, I think he makes a couple missteps, but he had to nominate 5 people. He gets a really bad draw. Putting up Amy is a big mistake. Putting up Will is a mistake. His HOH was messy. Granted, I think it was a pretty tough HOH, and he kind of protected himself with the other side of the house. You know, he had kind of like people like Vince more down with him. People like Keanu, he made amends with. Like, Jimmy was actually doing pretty well, except he lost, you know, some of his closest allies. He's in the biggest alliances early on. You know, he's in the heavy hitters. Working super closely with Rachel. Seems like he's pretty good at competitions as well. I think Jimmy on most seasons does quite well. He's very active strategically. Socially, he's kind of a mixed bag, but, like, he's very active socially. Like, most people had a decent relationship with Jimmy, and even his ops, he developed good relationships with. Like, if you guys remember, people were, like, shitting on Jimmy because how close he was to Catherine. They were suspicious of that. The way I view it is like, okay, he's super close to Mickey and Morgan. He's also super close to Catherine. Also, he has a close dynamic with Rachel. Also, he's pretty close to Vince. He just had, like, a lot going on, which is, you know, what sussed Mickey and Morgan out. And I think it was a terrible move for them to target him. You know, and Morgan will defend it to this day, and that's why Morgan's the best, but I think it was a crazy move. And, you know, I just think Jimmy, like, I'm trying to point to his biggest flaw in the game. And I think it's that, Night Cheese. Like, he just comes off a little schemy. He's a little suspicious. Right? Like, he plays hard. But you guys know me. I'll take playing hard over the alternative. Why can't he be higher? Well, he plays 14th. He's 4th out. That's tough. You know, it's tough. But I do think he was also voted out because he was like, damn, we got Jimmy on the block right now. This is pretty good. Can you be too active? Depends on the season. On 25, you'd have to be like Jimmy. On 26, being Jimmy, you're going to be first boot. So, you never really know. I don't think Jimmy prioritizes good TV over playing the game. I think he wants to be on TV, but, like, his big TV moments do not hurt his game, really. They're just kind of corny speeches, you know? I think postseason, you could definitely be like, okay, this guy really cares about public perception. But in the house, I never thought his, like, TV antics got in the way of his game. Like, he had his big spat with Keanu on the episodes, and then he makes amends with Keanu, and they're not targeting each other the week after, you know? Same problem as Amira, in that they're clockable as active players. I agree, but that, like, sometimes they won't be clocked, or sometimes they will be clocked, and you can't do anything about it because they're so insulated. It didn't work out for Jimmy this time, but I don't think he made, like, super vital mistakes. I think if you simulate BB27 a lot of times, he makes it much deeper most times. Y'all know I'm not the biggest Jimmy fan out there, but I do think as a player he's pretty fine. Pretty decent. The Rob tweet was funny. So that's Jimmy. You know, if he came back, I wouldn't love it, but I do think he would actually have the chance to do quite well. 38, we have Will. Captain Will. I'm sure the guy who is waiting for Keanu is losing his mind right now. Will wanted to quit the game, and it was not just a short quit the game stint. It was a pretty extended duration of wanting to quit the game. It was like 3 weeks there. That's a big problem. Will has an issue where I think it's almost impossible for him to win a season. Which maybe it's like, okay, Cory, you're saying it's impossible for him to win a season? How can you have him this high? Jack Tony, I've already done my BB27 rankings and had Keanu over Will once already. So this has been a thing. This has been an established opinion that I've thought about for a while. Someone needs to explain to me the path for Will to win the game. He's super likable socially. He can never win a competition. That's checkmate. How does he win? He's Suri. He's like, what if Suri was worse at everything? And like Suri, her biggest issue is she can never get to the final two. It's almost impossible. I think Suri has a much, 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 much greater likelihood of convincing someone to take her and lose. I don't think Will can do that. Will was on the block with Ashley when it made so much sense to get rid of Ashley and keep Will. I think that decision is actually not that important. I think keeping Ashley or Will, it's kind of the same thing. But everyone thought we're going to keep Will. And then Will did nothing. And Ashley campaigned. And Ashley got to stay as a result. Will had no chance to win the game. Thank you, Cory, for telling the truth. It's just that players like this, it's not their fault. It's not Will's fault that the end game is impossible for him. It's not Suri's fault. It's not Felicia's fault. It's not... Will is just an archetype of player that I think has no shot. However, you get yourself into the end game, people like you. Big Brother's a crazy game. Maybe some twists come into play. Maybe you're cast with your secret son. Maybe, like, it's not impossible that Will could win. It's just kind of inconceivable. Maybe someone underestimates Will's jury capabilities. I would say the best move Will made was his formation of the judges. That was pretty good. Give him credit, give Ashley credit, give Rachel credit. But I think he was kind of the main guy who, like, was holding everything together. Because while Vince hated Ashley, Vince did like Will and respected Will. So I think Vince's buy-in is partially, Will's doing. And I'll talk about Keanu here, just because people are bringing up why is Keanu over Will. I think Keanu wins seasons, Will doesn't. I think Keanu goes out earlier than Will sometimes, but Will also goes out very early on a lot of seasons, especially some of these earlier seasons where, like, the 50-year-old guy, it's a tough spot. Will almost got evicted this season early a couple times. Keanu's competition ability gives him a chance to win the game, whereas Will's lack of competition ability, like inability to win anything, kind of dooms him. And that sucks. It's a bummer. Keanu is way worse socially. Strategically, Keanu is, like, worse, but way more active, so that's kind of a wash to me. And then physically, I mean, it's not even close. So, if you simulate 100 seasons, I think Keanu wins more than Will. I don't think it's close. Keanu's also pre-jury more, but the goal of Big Brother is not to get 7th place, 4th place, 3rd place. Because Keanu could get there a lot, Will could get there a lot. The goal is to win. And that's how I'm doing my rankings. That's how I've been doing them. Keanu on a lot of seasons being a bro and winning comps. I feel like he's always going to be on the outs of the bros, weirdly enough. But just being able to win comps and playing so hard. Here's the thing. If Keanu comes back next season as, like, a sole veteran returnee, I think he wins the season. I think he would be the smartest bet as a returning vet. I think if Will comes back as a returning vet, no shot. It's a rich tapestry. You better not be mocking me. I don't think that was the right move at all, extra spicy peppers. I think it was better to get Ashley out because Ashley did have marginally more comp ability, and Ashley, of course, was a much more capable player. Will being so passive, I think means Ashley is like a better person to take. But ultimately, both Ashley and Will are the person you want to drag to the final three, so you could just beat them in a comp. So I don't think it was like a title mistake by anyone getting rid of Will. Keanu was lucky to go as far as he did. So here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Absolutely. He was lucky. But part of the luck is because he could win competitions and bail himself out. I'm treating Big Brother as it is, not how we want it to be. Will cannot bail himself out. Keanu can. That's a huge advantage. Keanu should have been gone week 2 without his power. Yeah. He wasn't, because he won because he found a little power. Should have been gone week 5 when Zach went home. Well, won the blockbuster. Will couldn't do that. You just give yourself a better shot by being good at competitions. That's just the reality. And in the end game, Will is like drawing dead, and that's where Keanu becomes incredibly dangerous. Keanu could have gone home week 1. Will was trying to quit week 2. I don't like like how high do you think I have Keanu? How high? Any theories? Because he's number 37. It's 38 Will, 37 Keanu. It's close. I'm not thinking Keanu's a great player, but Keanu plays really hard and he's great at competitions, and he would have won a jury vote. Not against everyone, but against a lot of people. Here's the like, just make the case that Rubino wins more seasons of Big Brother than Keanu to me. If you feel that way, that's fine. I just disagree. Nominated 8 times, not ideal, but he won an HOH, 3 vetoes, and 2 blockbusters. The peak of Keanu's game, he has this, the early game, he's a mess. He's floundering. He's winning blockbusters to save himself. He's getting special veto powers. He's doing terribly. Then he gets to this middle portion where Rachel and Vince are winning HOHs. He's safe all those weeks, not even nominated. And then he wins HOH, and I think he does a very good job on his HOH, which I was very surprised about. I think when we saw Keanu's HOH, it's going to be like, holy shit, what's he going to do? But he's targeting, he puts up Vince, which I love. I'm trying to remember who else he's putting up that week. Is he putting up like Lauren? Is he putting up Morgan? Keanu honestly better than everyone from Cerise season. That's whoa. I think Keanu is probably like not there. But he does good on his HOH. He's safe in the middle game. He ends up vulnerable on the block during the double eviction at the final 6 and stays. I think that's pretty impressive, all things considered. I think the final 7, he ends up safe and stays. He wins the final 6 veto to save himself. I just think Keanu plays actively enough to keep himself involved in the conversations, so when he's vulnerable at the final 7, he's able to survive that vote over Kelly, when he really shouldn't. I think that was a bad move by everyone. Vince, Morgan, Mickey with an Ashley Renom, that's a good HOH. That's great targets for him. I think it's unlucky for him that Mickey's the one who goes home. He's probably much better off if Morgan goes there. What are you going to do? So ultimately, to summarize my Keanu thoughts, strategically, he's really hard-headed. He doesn't understand what he has to do to move forward. However, he's very active. He's always involved. He's always pushing his agenda. Socially, definitely his worst category. I think a lot of people found him endearing. A lot of people also found him annoying and self-aggrandizing and like patriarchal. And like, there's a lot there, and there's a lot of reasons why he was on the bottom from like week 1. Competitions, he was excellent. I don't think he's as good as Jag or Tucker or Michael or them, but he's like the tier right below. He's like with MJ. And having that competition ability in conjunction with playing that actively, there's no reason why he couldn't be an MJ in a future season. He already made it Final 5 this season. And let's be real, the blockbuster is part of the format now. It just is. So now in a blockbuster world, I think everyone would agree Keanu's a lot better than he was before. Viaggi, I don't know. Viaggi, do you recognize that I was on Suri's season? Because you don't want me to go down the path of all Suri's mistakes on Big Brother 25. I think she was the best player on the season, but like, I mean, she was kind of rough. Like, it was not a good showing. I think saying Matt's not a good player means you've only got 20 good players in the history of the show. Saying I'm not a good player, that's fine. But again, if I'm like the 70th best player out of 350, you've just got a very short list of players. If you're saying the only good players in Big Brother history are the top 15, I'll hear you out. That's an opinion. I think it's stupid, but I think it's a holdable opinion. Low-key, when I forgot, but I love you, Cory, as personality. I don't think you did the best, though. I do think you were much better than most that season. I'm gonna continue the conversation. You think Keanu is better than everyone on the season except for Suri. Is that your opinion? Is that your take? Let's get that out of the way. Is that your perspective? Keanu is the second best player combining BB25 and BB27. Answer honestly. Like, it's fine. Like, I'm curious to have the conversation. Not include. No. Wait, put aside BB27. Keanu, is he the second best player? I think if Keanu is on season 25, he wins. Okay, I feel better now. I feel a lot better about your participation in chat. Because that is an indefensible opinion. The opinion you hold invalidates your perspective on reality competition shows. Now, you're allowed to have the opinions, and I appreciate people who have opinions about these silly shows that we all love. But that perspective means you do not operate in reality. And whatever you are on, I would like some. It'll make the snowstorm pass quicker. It's funny. I feel like everyone in chat is like, dude, Keanu is terrible. How do you have him ranked this high? This one guy's like, I think Keanu is the only good player of the new era after Suri. As the person I'm arguing with. Anyways, if Cody takes Victoria to the end and wins 9-0, is that the best winning game of all time? These are the types of questions we need to hear. No, it would not be. It would not be. Cody was too much of a Robin to Derek's Batman on BB16. 36. Sarah Beth. You really want to get the people talking? You really want to get the strategic juices flowing? Let's talk about Sarah Beth. Now, she was locked in with Kyland. That's good. You know, it's good to have a valuable ally like that. When Christian's HOH, because she's part of like Christian's crew at the start of the game, she's pushing for Hannah to go home, which is like obviously a good target. Targeting anyone in the cookout's good. But that gets her on the cookout's radar. What I'm going to say about Sarah Beth is like, she seemed to have a good head on her shoulders. Strategically, she seemed like she was there. She was also going against Tiffany. And Tiffany hated Sarah Beth on a weird personal level. And to Tiffany's credit, Tiffany is, in my opinion, one of the 3 best players of the new era. That should not be a spoiler to anybody. So she kind of got on the wrong side of Tiffany's personal agenda. And I think that's checkmate for anyone on BB23. I think socially, she's good. She's a little closed off. Took her a minute to, get into the house. Her taking out DX is a problem, but Kyland was in her ear, and Kyland's also a good player. Kyland's her closest ally. Obviously, she's not conceiving of the cookout existing. So when Kyland is hammering, like, you got to target Derek X nominated her in the past. I think it's like a very understandable mistake as HOH. Claire was the alternate, yeah. So I just think Sarah Beth is a player who, like, I saw more potential from Sarah Beth, and I don't think her eviction, I think she has more excuses. Playing on the season with the cookout, Tiffany just hating her in, like, a weirdly hateful way. I don't know what Sarah Beth could have done to make it much further in this season. And she still makes it pretty far. In a season with the Cookout, where the top 6 spots are locked in from the final 12 on, she makes it to 9th. So I've got Sarah Beth at number 36. I don't have that much more to say about her. Seems like a really nice person. But there's not. I just think it's hard to rank players on season 23 because of the Cookout's dominance. 35. Cedric. This feels high for Cedric, I'm going to be honest. I think Cedric should be ranked a bit lower. I'll defend the ranking, and then I'll explain why I think I'm too high on Cedric. I loved the way Cedric played the game. I think Cedric was playing so well. I thought socially he was among the best in the house. Strategically, he was incredibly active, running around, pulling a ton of shit. He really was. When we're talking about the Pentagon, if the Pentagon side of the house is able to get rid of Tucker, run the game, I think he's the most likely winner. I think he is. Because in those conversations in the Pentagon, Brooklyn was very good, but she was pretty passive. Cam's very passive. Quinn just wasn't in the Pentagon as much as the rest of them were. It was Cedric and Chelsea throwing ideas off of each other. They were the heads of the Pentagon. Now, here's the problem. His boot week is diabolical. I think he does a good job on his HOH, targeting Tucker and MJ. America's Veto kind of screws him over. Tucker wins the blockbuster. Kenny goes home. Like, he does the right thing in his HOH. Tucker's the perfect target. But there's a lot of ways for Tucker to save himself, right? Then, on Quinn's deepfake HOH, he volunteers to go on the block to try to beat Tucker in the veto and in the AI arena. He ends up losing to Tucker in the veto, gets second place, and then he's a sitting duck on the block. So look, his demise was 100% his own doing. Quinn was not considering putting up Cedric until Cedric threw himself on the block. So that's a huge mistake. But strategically, he's a very sharp guy. Socially, he's really, really good. And physically, I think he's a comp beast. We didn't see it, but I have no doubt if you put him on the final 9 of Big Brother 25, he goes on a comp run, probably wins it in a Jag-esque sense. I feel like you underrate Matt's game a lot. His game is underrated, man. I haven't ranked Matt yet. I feel like I'm pretty high on Matt's game. I feel like usually people shit on how high I'm. People often think the opposite, that I'm overrating Matt's game. But I thought Matt was good. Yeah. We'll get there, though. He's not being ranked today. In general, with Cedric, he's just a good player who made a terrible mistake, and we only have 4 weeks of data, and when you make one terrible mistake in 4 weeks, it's like, well, that's pretty bad. Which Matt? I assume he doesn't mean Matt Hardiman. So here's Cedric. Maybe ranked a bit too high, but I do think he's a lot better than Keanu, right? Better than Will. Maybe he's right. I think he's ranked fine, the more I think about it. The guy I would compare him to is like Jimmy. Like, who played a better game, Jimmy or Cedric? I think Jimmy made less of a mistake, but Cedric's just a little bit more well-rounded. Obviously, has done super well in the challenge. No way he called Turner Matt. Joseph Rodriguez has not been ranked yet. No. All right. Number 34. We have 2 more people we're talking about today. 34 is Lauren. Here's what I'll say about Lauren. She's pretty good at competitions, and she's a very sweet person. That's very valuable. That alone puts her at 34. Here's the downside with Lauren. She cannot talk to people. She gets scared. She's Gen Z. Doesn't like talking to people sometimes. She gets scared. I don't think she's the most passive necessarily. She's not active, but she's less passive than like a Rubina, right? Or a player like that. But she just doesn't, she's never really able to advocate for herself as strongly as like a Morgan, right? Or as a Vince. She plays well. She wins HOHs. She's able to like stave off Rachel's pressure, which I think is good. Rachel was really trying to like pressure her into not using the veto on Vince. I think it was the right call for her to use the veto on Vince. History kind of told us that was the wrong move based on how that relationship ended. But in the moment, I thought it was the right move, and she made it. I don't like being a hindsight person. She's good at competitions. If she gets in front of a jury, I think she actually has an okay chance. A lot of them didn't respect her because, like, Will always joked about, she hasn't talked to me. We've been here for 8 weeks. But she did have a lot of friends in the jury. She would have had, like, Ava and Kelly and Vince. Like, she could beat people. There's really not much more to say other than she's likable and she's good at comps. And she's not self-destructive, which is a huge thing. She does a really bad job on her first HOH. I mean, Adrian ends up going on her first HOH. Adrian should have been an ally for at least her side of the house, if not her. That's her worst move, is putting up Adrian instead of Ashley. Even that isn't self-destructive because the following week, when Mickey steals the HOH, Lauren is safe because of not targeting Ashley. So she basically made the passive, safer move to try to ingratiate herself with more of the house. I think it was the wrong move, but there was pros and cons to both sides. Lauren in 10 years could be... No, I think Lauren's age has nothing to do with her game ability. Cedric, we just ranked as 21. He did not have these issues. MJ's 22. She did not have these issues. I was 21. I did not have these issues. This feels like a very Lauren-specific thing. Wasn't she a fan? She was clearly a casual fan, yeah. Using the veto on Vince created an insane butterfly effect that destroyed her side of the house. It was just from our perspective, Riley was never gonna go home there. You know what I mean? From our perspective, it seemed very obvious that Morgan was gonna go, which would have been awesome for Lauren. And if things just went a little differently, and like we expected, Morgan goes home, I think Lauren's in an excellent position. But in short, I don't think her age has anything to do with her social ability. That's her personality. Look, Peppers, I think everyone gets to celebrate when they're vindicated and they're correct. So take the victory lap, but I'm sure you've also got a lot of times where you were wrong. But I do think most people thought, we want Rachel to make this move. Probably not going to work, though. Because I think you forget how obsessed Ava was with Riley, and Vince and Riley had a very close dynamic, and, you know. Everyone thought Mickey was going to go, which was like another reason of why the fuck are you putting Riley on the block when Mickey's going no matter what? So the fact that Mickey wins the blockbuster is what actually makes any of this possible, and I think people thought Mickey was the least likely to win the blockbuster of the three of them. So, you were right. Congrats, but I don't think that means that was the only outcome, right? That's all I have to say about Lauren. I liked her. I think casting-wise, it's just tough when someone doesn't feel comfortable talking to other people. Was she the Big D at BB27? Nah, she's a lot better than Big D. But there is a certain ceiling on how high I can rank you when you don't feel comfortable talking to people in a social game. I think at a younger age, you're a little more concerned about how people view what you choose to do impacting your overall game. I agree. I disagree. Sometimes when you're in your 60s, you're like, who fucking cares? But you're telling me, like, people in their 30s on recent seasons didn't care incredibly about their perception? Lauren versus Ovi? I mean, you have to say Lauren. But season 21 was a hellscape. The final player we will be ranking today is... You guys ranked Ovi? Fair enough. T-Core. All right. So, by the way, Matt, I think you guys are biased against newer players. And I think that's just how psychology works. Like, we remember how bad they were. But in, like, 5 years, no one's going to remember, like, all of Lauren's super obvious shortcomings. You know what I mean? It's like why Vince is worse than Howie. That's not a real opinion you can hold. But we do just remember all the shit Vince did in our heads. Chemo above T-Core. I feel very confident about Chemo above T-Core. T-Core, she wins an HOH, gets 8th place, second juror, nominated only once. T-Core, if she was active, might be a top 10 player. You're just asking her to be a different person, you know? T-Core found herself in an excellent position basically throughout the entire season. Her best move of the season is flipping on Cedric. I give Chemo much more credit than T-Core for that. If you guys remember, they were both basically going to Tucker and trying to advocate for certain people to be on the block. And T-Core and Chemo would like, okay, so you're going to say this, I'm going to say this, we're going to go in there. All right, break. And they walk into the HOH room, and T-Core says nothing. T-Core is very similar to Lauren in like she doesn't have the ability to play actively. I can't think of a conversation where T-Core, outside of just talking to Chemo, pushed any strategic agenda whatsoever. Any. Competitions, she was really not competitive at all. She ends up winning a quiz comp, which it's good to know that she could win a quiz comp. There's some people who just can't. They're really bad at those. So she is able to win quizzes, which that's good. On her HOH, she targets Tucker, which would not have been that bad of a move if she wanted to target Tucker. If she like oriented her game, we're going to get rid of Tucker, and then we're going to have Quinn and Chemo as the visionaries, and we got Rubina, and then we still have these people, and we still have Chelsea's relationship. Like, there's a world where targeting Tucker was fine. Putting up Tucker and then not wanting him to go home and then him going home anyways, that's a disaster. How is T-Core worse than Leah and Joseph? I think T-Core is just worse than them. I don't know what. Socially, she had an aura to her. I don't know how to rank that, how to consider that. It just kind of is a thing. But when you have that aura of everyone knows T-Core is going to win and you can't win competitions and you're super passive strategically, you can't be ranked much higher. Can we talk about something? I see a lot of talk about how Taryn thinks T-Core is a great player. I was doing a lot of podcasts with Taryn. I was listening to the 26 updates. I never got that impression. I thought he was very critical of T-Core. Joseph was so bad at comps and socially. Look, let's be honest. Joseph's not far behind T-Core. Like, they're going to be ranked. He's going to be ranked very quickly. But I do think Joseph having a good strategic head on his shoulders, like I think he was actually a good strategic player, is more important than T-Core being a good social player with nothing else. Being just good socially is almost like a death sentence when you're so bad at comps and so passive strategically. Like, you need to have one of the two other things to make your social game mean anything. Joseph had negative win equity. Everyone has win equity with Angela. Everyone. And Joseph was active, and he was trying to put groups together, and like the circumstances of his eviction were way crazier than the circumstances of T-Core's eviction. T-Core getting evicted on Leah's HOH, like T-Core was the one person in the house who MJ beat Chelsea over. Chelsea wanted T-Core to stay, MJ wanted T-Core to go, and MJ won out. That's an issue. When people call Joseph a good strategic player, I just think about him wanting to go to the end with Tucker, thinking he could legitimately beat him. That's delusion, for sure, but also he needed Tucker deep in the game for him to have any chance. Like I was saying that on the updates, his only path was with Tucker and cutting him at 3 for Angela or Leah or someone. Joseph, Leah, and Quinn could have trioed up. They could have, but Leah's a lot to criticize about Leah. The point is, Leah, Joseph, and T-Core, very similar spots in the game. I just think, you guys know, I have favoritism towards activity. And T-Core was incredibly passive. She gets evicted in a spot she should not have been evicted. She has a ride or die trio, and they all know she's going to beat them in the final two. Jury's still out if they would have taken her anyways. Her game just kind of fizzles. I guess for me, it's just like, and I challenge you guys to like prove to me I'm wrong. Can you guys think of a conversation where T-Core pushed her agenda? Is there one? And like Joseph did, Quinn did, Leah did. The Cedric flip, that was chemo. That was chemo. I did so much podcasting that week. I was on the Reality Kingdom, I think, and I was on the live feed update. If chemo's not there, T-Core doesn't do anything. She's just talking about it. Now, it's important to be able to have, like, the social connections. Like, people probably felt better about flipping because T-Core was on board. But her constantly neglecting Quinn for no reason, her undying loyalty to Chelsea that served nothing for her. It's just a tough spot. And I feel like I'm being harsh because everyone's acting like she should be ranked higher. Socially, she's great. People loved her. I think if she went another season, people would love her again. I think if I was on a season with her, I'd want to work with T-Core in the same way Quinn did. But, you know. Didn't happen. So that's the list. Let's go back to Jared. So we had Amira at 47, Blue at 46, Rubina 45, Catherine 44, Mimi at 43, Ava 42, Alyssa 41, Alyssa 40, Jimmy 39, Will 38, Keanu 37, Sarah Beth 36, Cedric 35, Lauren 34, T-Core 33. That's the list. Expect a couple BB26ers to start the next list. That season's not going to have that many people make it much further. I'm surprised Joseph's ahead of T-Core and Lauren. I don't even see the case for Lauren above Joseph. T-Core and Joseph is just kind of, do you care about someone being good strategically and bad at everything else, or good socially and bad at everything else? If Chelsea's not number one, then the rankings suck. We'll see. We will see. Cam Sullivan Brown got to be the last episode. Is Cam a top 16 player? Look, I haven't done those rankings yet. My instinct is no, frankly. But I'm not going to speak too much more than that as to not spoil. Because apparently he had a 0 win equity for like ever. And he was going to take Chelsea. He is the GOAT, though. No one can take that away from him. Does chat think Rachel's in the top 10? You're, again, whatever you're smoking, dude, please pass it along. Find me a good 10 players better than Rachel. Who are the lowest players post-merge? Is that what PM means? Because that does, you mean post-jury? Who are the lowest players on the full ranking? Okay, Luke was last. It was like Luke, Paloma, and then Kenny Kelly. Thanks, video games. It was kind of stressful to be there at the time, but it was pretty fun. Paloma was iconic. Okay, gotcha. Amira is the best pre-juror of the new era. No, I think Cedric I had higher. And we still haven't ranked Brooklyn. We haven't ranked Izzy. Haven't ranked Joseph. We still got a few people on that list. Derek X is not a pre-juror, but was evicted in a pre-jury spot in a 7-person jury. Same with Joseph, who's also coming up soon. Is Luke better than Willie? No, he's worse. I think Willie was doing better than Luke. Also, trying to headbutt Chef Joe, I think, is cooler than saying the N-word. Thoughts? Should I run a poll? What's cooler, headbutting Chef Joe or saying the N-word? I forgot Izzy was still on the board. Her time might be coming. Quinn's a top 20 player. I would guess not. But Quinn's a weird one where it's like judging the player versus the resume. Depends on if you're black. That probably plays a role. I think the implication was you're white, but I guess that clarification's helpful. Is there anyone to raid? Morgan streaming, Quinn streaming, Matt Ligori streaming. Have we seen Angela yet? Yeah, we saw Angela a while ago. Let's see. If you had to pick a Survivor season to binge. Yeah, still seeing my screen. Get out of here. Is Dan on? I'm not raiding Dan. He doesn't need the raid. The most recent Survivor rewatch on Patreon is apparently public. Is it? I didn't know that, but I'll let it ride. Raid the Diary Room YouTube channel. Yeah, that was not intentional. I'll make sure the future ones are not, but you know. Really, I'll probably make that one private and then make the premiere public. That just makes more sense. Right? But we did record the next 2 episodes. That'll be up soon. I'd say binge season 4 of Survivor. I'm sorry. I got distracted. What was the question? They were not going to watch on the Patreon. Okay. I mean, the returning player seasons we'll watch eventually, so maybe not those. I'm trying to think when we'd watch Philippines, and that's an awesome season. I think Blood vs. Water. Like, Blood vs. Water is a really fun season. The audio should be better. Yeah, you're right. I'm probably not going to post the first episode because of the audio. A lot of the rewatches are public. Really? Okay, I'll look into it, but anyways. Thanks you guys for hanging out. Patreon should be pumping. We're going to have our casting video out soon. We're going to have our Survivor on Monday and then podcast on Tuesday. We'll probably watch China. China's worth watching. Anywho, appreciate you guys, and